Drivers out there, we saw some spinning and some shake-ups in the slippery conditions out there on the circuit. And Leandro Martins there crossing the line, I believe, to take, oh sorry, Pablo Bras in Leandro Martins' car, taking the Cup 2 class win there. The yellow Porsche flashing the headlights across the line. That was our Cup 2 winner, the Porsche 992 Cup car. Always good in these slippery conditions, and Pablo used that to his advantage. Already back around. That was a quick in-lap from Christian Korzanowski, taking the race win for Olymp Racing. The first race of the year, the first win of the year has been recorded, and it has gone to a Ferrari 296 GT3. It's the first time Olymp has entered its 296s into the series in racing conditions. Korzanowski and Karel Bash driving that car this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that car under the podium more than once this weekend, but it's one from one at the moment. Korzanowski, Keanu Bloom, and then the third car across the line, Arūnas Gakauskas in the Ferrari, in the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. So Olymp Racing ahead of Haupt, ahead of Utah, Ferrari, ahead of Ford, ahead of Audi, your top three in the GT3 classification and in the overall standings. Celebrations already going on down there with the Olymp team. Of course, they'll be delighted with that. Korzanowski debriefing with his team, and we'll be going down there to Izzy, who's caught up with Christian Korzanowski in just a few seconds' time. And it will be a story, I think, of some lap traffic intervention, among other things. Certainly a challenging race for him. We saw, I think, just about everybody get caught out by lap traffic at one point or another. And we are now going to go down to Izzy underneath the podium.
We can indeed. I have our first winner of the 2026 Winter Series alongside me, Christian. What a race from you. I mean, best way to start the season.
Thank you very much. It was tricky from the beginning because there was some damp places, so we should have, you know, be constant and really stay on the safe side.
And you were having quite the battle with Keanu, but then you used the traffic perfectly, got around, and then he was left in your rear view mirror, and you were just off into the distance.
Yeah, it was also not easy to fighting with that component compared like the guy like this. So it was not easy, but it's good.
But you've done it, and the best way to start the season, as I say. Just how tricky were the conditions out there then?
Yeah, it was a lot of tricky places. So. That's why I want to thank you Olymp Racing for our car, because everything was, you know, just perfectly.
Well, congratulations, our first winner of the 2026 GT Winter Series, and we can go back to Adam for all the results.
Okay, well, there we go. Race one in the books, and a race with a lot of drama around it. So then Korzanowski in the race-winning position, ultimately leading the race. I think we're around 15 seconds towards the end, although timing was having a few hiccups. I understand there's been a power cut around the circuit, which has caused a few issues. Keanu Bloom in second place in the Ford Mustang GT3 car. In third position, Arūnas Gakauskas in the Utah Racing Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. In fourth position was Jaroslav Veselaho in the AF Corsa number 96 car. we're going to regroup now and get to the podiums in a short while, but we'll first hear from some of our commercial partners.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, the podium coming up very shortly, but I've managed to come down and grab our P2 at Keanu again. Keanu, we spoke on the grid. I mean, it was a great start, but then things just sort of fell away from you there. Just explain what happened.
Yeah, so we had a mega start. Had a big gap at the start, and then just drove my race. But the Ferrari was incredibly strong, and I tried to do my best to defend him, but he got past after 4 laps, and then we just drove our race and managed to tie as well.
Where are you lacking specifically on this track compared to the Ferrari in the Mustang?
Yeah, so he's quite fast on the straight line, and we lack a bit of traction, so we have to get that fixed, and we'll bounce back stronger tomorrow.
Is there anything you can do, anything you can change setup-wise to help for tomorrow?
Well, we have to look on the data and see where we really lose all the time, and I hope it will be better for tomorrow.
And of course, you'll be back in the car tomorrow afternoon in race 3, but you'll hand over to your teammate. I mean, just how much have you been enjoying driving this car? I know that race probably is not the way you wanted it to end, but still an enjoyable car to drive.
Yes, looking at the car, I think it's the best looking car on the grid, and just hearing the engine makes a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, we're enjoying having it in the Winter Series. As I say, another race for you tomorrow, so congratulations on the P2. Go look into the data and see what you can do for tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you very much.
All right, podium coming up very, very shortly, but there is our P2, Keanu Bloom.
Thank you very much, Izzy. Keanu certainly putting in a good show. Ultimately, though, 10 seconds back from Christian Korzanowski. Korzanowski, though, our race winner. Ferrari from Ford. That's how the Le Mans 24 Hours should have gone in Enzo Ferrari's script in the 60s. Let's have a look at some race highlights. Korzanowski from 4th position at the start of the race was caught up. The Ford Mustang of Keanu Bloom getting a brilliant start as the race got underway and led the early stages. Of course, Arūnas Gakauskas having a bit of an issue early on. The number 19 Lamborghini Super GT3 car had a spin, as did a few of the others. Kenneth Heyer with perhaps the most spectacular one off the circuit and falling down the order. Simon Orange did well to avoid Jonas Karklis as we rode on board with him in the number 67 car from Orange Racing. And a lot of the drivers taking it a little bit easy. We're on slick tyres, but certainly some damp patches around the circuit. The 155 car, the Liqui Team Engstler machine, in a fight with Alessio Ruffini. Friedrich Müller there losing a position, and this was the moment the lead changed hands. Korzanowski taking the outside line, getting around the big Mustang as the traffic intervened, and the intra-class battles continued at pace as well. Lots of intermingling in the midfield, as is always the case in the GT Win Series. Alessio Ruffini and Sean Rann had a collision. Oh, and we didn't see that one at the time, but in fact, yes, we did, of course, but it was Sander and Hernandez. I think we caught the latter half of that in the live pictures, but certainly Sander went for a bit of a hop, skip, and indeed a jump. Kenneth Heyer was working his way back through the field after his spin earlier on. The Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo running in the top 10. And this was the number 27 car diving to the inside there. That was the PTT racing machine of Przemysław Bienkowski, who was a bit anonymous in this race, ultimately finishing in 15th position. And the race ending, of course, with Christian Korzanowski crossing the line to win the race. Certainly not the script I think any of us expected for this first race, but the Korzanowski and Karel Bash car was heavily favorited by a lot of us in the paddock for the overall win, and the overall win he did indeed get. Korzanowski in the Ferrari 296, 11 seconds clear ultimately at the front of the field of Keanu Bloom in second place. Yuta Racing's Arūnas Gakauskas in third place. Jaroslav Veselaho in the 96 in fourth position. Kukaresi fifth in the Haupt Racing team. The sister Ford Mustang, Simon Orange in sixth place. Dexter Muller in 7th position ahead of Brandon Oxley in the sole Mercedes AMG GT2, finished just ahead of Jonas Karklis. Alfredo Hernandez rounding out the top 10 ahead of defending GT3 champion Kenneth Heyer. Difficult start to the year. Christoph Ernhausen in the GTX class BMW Z4 GT3 finishing 12th ahead of Andre Fernandez. Pablo Brash in 14th. Przemysław Bienkowski in 15th place ahead of Karl Runefelt. Alessio Ruffini 17th. Igor Klaya in 18th. Anders Steiner in 19th place, and Sean Rann rounding out the top 20 ahead of Lucas Azato, who picked up some places from the very rear of the grid in 21st overall. Norikazu Shibata in 22nd. Mikael Sander did make it back out onto the circuit and finished 23rd after a visit to the pits. Friedrich Müller in 24th ahead of Alexei Kikareshko in the 88 Porsche. Stanislav Jedlinski in 26th. Mats Kimby in 27th. Ulrich Forsberg in 28th place ahead of Kevin, or KC King, in the Nascenti Racing Porsche, rounding out the 29 cars on the grid in that race. All 29, incidentally, did reach the checkered flag as well. So while we did have some incidents and, yes, a little bit of shed carbon fibre, we did get everyone to the checkered flag at the end of the day. The drivers will soon be up and celebrating on the podium, of course, not just the overall podiums, but also in the Cup classes. The GT3 cars at the front of the field overall, as you might expect, but it's not always a given in this type of racing, with some of the Cup cars, some of the GTX, GT2s even, being driven by handy pro drivers or handy young drivers looking to make a statement. But on this occasion, it is an all GT3 podium, and Keanu Bloom was the driver who finished second, Christian Korzanowski, although Korzanowski has just dropped down to third on my timing screen, which I think might be an aberration. Korzanowski, the race winner, undoubtedly. So then, while we wait for the podiums and Andy McEwen to do his best impression of a sheep herder, we'll hear again from some of our commercial partners.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're finally ready then to get our first podium presentation of the GT Winter Series underway. A crowd of drivers gathered behind the podium, an even bigger crowd of team members down below to support them. I'm going to start with our GTX class and our race winner in GTX, Christoph Ernhausen. Congratulations, Christoph. On to the top step of the podium he goes. And the driver of the 888 machine, the Classic and Speed car, one of the absolute fan favourite cars. And he will receive his winner's trophy. And a big smile on his face. A very popular car in the paddock. And already a class winner. A class of one, admittedly, but still a positive start to the season. Christoph will pose for the photographs, and then we will dive in and have a chat with all of our class winners. So Christoph, if you could just stay there a second, pop down and we'll have a, if you come down here, we'll have a little chat with you. Christoph, congratulations, first trophy of the season. A real fan favourite car, but how was it out there in slippery conditions?
Oh, it was fun. It was, I mean, I got a little beating from the new cars, which was great. I had a lot of fun. And I mean, at the beginning, the cars were like going past me like I was parking, but I had a good challenge. I mean, they were pushing me a lot. So, I mean, I tried to push them as well. And in the end, I think we all arrived almost in one piece, and yeah, let's see how the next race goes.
Excellent, congratulations, well done. Our class winner then, Christoph Ernhausen in GTX, gets another round of applause from the crowd below. We move on now then to Cup 4, again a class of one, but it was an entertaining race for our class winner, Alessio Ruffini. Alessio very calmly heads over to the podium, climbs to the top step, and will receive his winner's trophy. We saw Alessio getting involved in a couple of moments during that race, and once he's had his photos taken, we can ask him about that. Alessio, let's have a chat. Do you want to come down the stairs? We'll have a talk. Alessio, an interesting race for you, that wasn't it? We saw the drama at turn 5. What happened?
Yeah, let's say I started in very last position because of the problem of this morning, and it was a challenging race. A lot of overtakes, some mistakes. Tomorrow it's another day. Thank you.
What happened at turn 5? Sorry, at the end of the lap, we saw the spin. Was there contact?
Yeah. There were 3 cars fighting for a position, and I mean, it happens, no? All good.
Still smiling. Well done on the class win. Alessio Ruffini, our Cup 4 victor. And we move on now then to Cup 2 for the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup cars. 3 drivers to welcome onto the podium. We start with our 3rd place finisher, Anders Steiner. A huge reception for Anders, who is very, very happy. 3rd step of the podium, if you could, Anders. Podium finish for the Team Steiner racing car. In 2nd position in Cup 2, Igor Klaya, who waves to the crowd as he heads to the 2nd step of the podium. But the top step of the podium belongs to our class winner, Pablo Brash. The Spaniard then heads to the top step of the podium to a great applause from the crowd down below. And is helped up to the top step by Igor Klaya, the 2nd place finisher. And 3 trophies handed out all by GEDLICH Racing staff members. And again, we'll have a word with our class winner, Pablo Brash, in a moment. They all gather together on the top step of the podium. Cup 2, always an entertaining class in GT Winter Series. And we're excited to see how those battles continue into tomorrow. Photos, I think, largely done down below. And we'll have a word with our class winner, Pablo Brash. Pablo, do you want to come down? We'll have a quick talk to our class winner. Pablo, congratulations. It's a competitive class is Cup 2. You must be happy to get a 1st win of the season.
Yes, in the first my English is horrible, but the race is very good. Final, the track is dry and the setup of the car is very good. The teams work perfect.
Perfect. Well done, Pablo. Congratulations on the win in Cup 2. Cup 1 is the next class that we have to head to, and that's for the Ferrari Challenge 296 cars. We start with our 3rd place Cup 1 driver, Lucas Azzato. Lucas strolls out to the podium onto the 3rd step. He will go, the Kessel Racing driver. It was an AF Corsa 1-2 though. In 2nd position, Sean Rann. And an AF Corsa driver claims the win in Cup 1 as well. Give it up, everyone, for Karl Runnefeld. Congratulations, Karl, onto the top step of the podium. AF Corsa with already plenty to celebrate and 2 trophies to take home with them already from their weekend here in Portimão. And they'll be hoping to add to that tally tomorrow as well, with another pair of races coming up. So, trophies held aloft. They gather together on the top step of the podium in glorious sunshine now. The track continues to dry. We were told that there was a chance of some rain around 3 o'clock. Well, it is 5:23 now, and I can tell you there are some ominous-looking dark clouds heading our way. And I wonder whether that might affect the GT4 race coming shortly. There's dancing breaking out now on the top step of the podium, courtesy of Karl Runnefeld, our class winner. I think the photos are done. Karl, can we grab you for a chat? Pop down here. Congratulations, Karl. A brilliant start to the Winter Series. How was the race for you?
It was incredible, my first real race, so I'm happy. I was visualizing this actually in my mind for a few weeks, you know. Law of attraction, so it worked out very well.
It's nice when a plan comes together, isn't it? Congratulations, Karl, on the win in Cup 1. And we can now move on to our final podium. Oh, Karl Runnefeld celebrating with a handstand. That might be the first time I've seen that. Looking forward to more gymnastics as the season goes on for the AF Corsa driver. So our final podium then, our top 3 drivers in the GT3 class, and we start with our 3rd place finisher, Arūnas Gačauskas. We interrupted a conversation, I think, that Arūnas was having backstage, but he makes his way out to the 3rd step of the podium now. 2nd place for the car that started on pole position, Hout Racing Team's Keanu Bloom. And Keanu gets a great reception from the crowd down below. The Ford Mustang 2nd in our first race of the season. The first victory, though, in GT Winter Series goes to Ferrari, to Olymp Racing, and Christian Karzanowski. Congratulations, Christian. He heads over to the top step of the podium, handshakes with Arūnas and Keanu. And we wait now for the trophies to be handed out once again. We've already heard, of course, from Arunas, so we'll let them celebrate on the podium. It was a dramatic, lively and certainly very eventful first race of the GT Winter Series, and we look forward to more of the same tomorrow. So, as the celebrations continue here on the podium, we look forward then to our one other race here this afternoon in Portimão. The GT4 Winter Series is coming up next.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
So then, the GT4 Winter Series is up next. They'll be out on circuit in about 2 or 3 minutes' time. And as Andy alluded to, it's brightened up out there, but there are dark clouds coming, and I think a sheet of rain coming. You can also see a rainbow peeking out from behind turn 8. So I think we might be in for mixed conditions, potentially going the other way in the GT4 Winter Series race. The GT4's split into 3 classes in the main GT4 classification. You've got the Pro class, the Pro-Am for lineups featuring 1 bronze and 1 driver of silver and above, and the Am class for an all-bronze lineup. In addition, kind of outside of the parameters of what is strictly GT4, we have the Club class, which is for out-of-homologation GT4 cars, and we've got an interesting little grid, actually, in the GT4 Club class, because there are 3 cars on the grid, a McLaren 570S Fleet, 2 of them, and the Aston Martin that we saw regularly last year, that being Thilo Goss of Muka Motorsport, albeit he's actually brought out his second Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4. The Aston Martin version 4, he has, I think, 4 of them total, and it's James 4.0, as he lovingly calls it, that he'll be sharing with Mattis Plushkel over the course of this weekend, and I believe a majority of the GT4 Winter Series season. But a nice mix of machines on the grid, and at the very front of the pack will be the number 30 car of Tim Horrell, who in qualifying earlier on managed to get pole position despite being the AM part of a Pro-Am lineup. Tim Horrell, who we lauded quite often last year for having good wet weather performances. It was a wet qualifying and he used that fully to his advantage. He will start on the overall pole position alongside Hugo Bach for Greystone GT. Greystone GT put in quite a lot of effort to get that car onto the grid because they had an accident in the practice sessions on Friday. So that car needed to be effectively rebuilt coming out of Friday, and it is now good and ready to go. Lots of interesting stories here on the GT4 Winter Series grid. We've got quite a few drivers who are GT racing or indeed car racing debutantes on the grid. In the GT4 Win Series as an overall package for the season. I think one of the big talking points is going to revolve around that 11 car in the centre of your screen. The Mercedes-AMG GT4, one of two from the SR Motorsport crew. That 11 car, Enrico Ferderer and Joel Nesch's machine. Those two have both been vice champions in the GT4 Win Series previously in 2024 and 2025. SR Motorsport, a two-time vice champion in GT4 Winter Series, and they'll be looking to go one better and clinch the crown in 2026. WNS Motorsport has two drivers looking to defend a title this season. Tim Horrell was the Pro-Am champion last year in the GT4 Winter Series, and we'll see if he can match that performance this season. He's certainly starting from overall pole position, off on the right foot coming from qualifying. And we also have Joachim Bolting with WNS Motorsport. He won the AM Championship last year with a Plusline Racing team entered car, but he's now with WNS Motorsport, and he'll be looking to get a good result in. If it does get damp around the circuit at any point this weekend, historically, we expect Joachim Bolting to move through the field very quickly indeed. We saw that here at Portimão last year, of course. It's a fairly even split across the classes, incidentally, in the GT4 Winter Series. As I said, we've got a nicer populated club class with 3 cars there, but we've got a healthy grid in the AM, the Pro-Am, and the Pro classes as well to make things very interesting. Another key point of interest, I feel, though, will come from row 2 of the grid. Robert Cronin at the wheel of the Rafa Racing by Racelab entry. He is part of an all-brother lineup in that team. Robert and Colin Cronin, the Irish brothers, the rallying dynasty that is the Cronin family. Well, it's an overall motorsport dynasty, but a lot of the winning in the family has come from their elder brother, Daniel, or elder brothers, I should say, Daniel and Keith. Keith, of course, being a 4-time British rally champion. So the Cronins now delving into circuit racing with Robert and Colin, and we expect them to do great things. Robert is the elder of the 2 brothers in the car. He's also the more experienced of the 2. Finished 4th in last year's Ginetta GT Championship, and I dare say, Andy McEwen, as a result of that, you're quite familiar with young Mr. Cronin.
Indeed so, yes. We've seen great thing from the Cronins plural, really, in Ginetta racing over in the UK recently, and it's one of the things I really like about the Winter Series. You get these names popping up who are just ready to make that next step, perhaps into the higher levels of national motor racing in the UK, or indeed international motor racing as well. We saw it last year, didn't we, with a handful particularly of the GT4 class drivers, and always interesting to see how they get on in what for many is their first taste of European competition. It is a step up from what they're used to in the UK, especially those who have come out of one make racing, as the Cronins have. This is a very different kettle of fish altogether. So yeah, really interested to see how they get on. Interesting in general, I think, to see how this race pans out, because it was a qualifying session that was affected by the weather. We had a little bit of a shower partway through. The track had never really fully dried out, actually, after this morning's rain, and I wonder whether we'll be talking about the same drivers on the pace in the race as we were talking about being on the pace during qualifying. Only 3/10 separated Tim Horrell from Hugo Back at the front of the grid. In fact, it was a fairly compact first couple of rows, but now in much drier conditions, for now at least, that may well change as we move through the 30-minute race.
Yeah, and really interesting to see Tim Horrell, of course, as an AM driver there on a pole position. We already touched base on how good he's been in the wet historically, and indeed just how impressive his performance was earlier on in qualifying. But in 2025, after winning the Pro-Am title with us in the GT4 Win Series, he had a great year in general. He got his first wins in Porsche Sports Cup Deutschland with W&S Motorsport. He even made some cameos in the GT4 European Series towards the end of the year, and I think turned a few heads as well. And it's actually something we see quite a lot here in the Winter Series paddock, is we kind of get the scoop on a lot of these quick bronze drivers who kind of, shall we say, skew the intentions of the Pro-Am or Am classifications with their sheer speed. Dustin Blattner, who's gone on to become one of the most revered bronze drivers in any championship. He was with us 4 years ago now in a Porsche Cup car run by Manthey, and well, we've seen him go on to the very highest levels of GT competition, and again, slightly break the bronze system. Will we see Tim Horrell do the same here? Let's go down to Izzy Browning. She's got the inside line and indeed her feet on the ground.
I do indeed have my feet on the ground, and we are at the front of the grid once again for the second and final time today, as only 2 races today. Much more racing coming up tomorrow though, and I do have to say there's a lot more cloud cover that has come over in the last few minutes. It's looking like there is rain behind us, so it could come maybe before the end of this race, but let's hope that it doesn't. Right, we're going to take a walk down the grid. Has to be a little bit careful because all the cars have made it to the grid yet, but I do want to come and chat to our pole position, and that is Tim Horrell. He is our reigning Pro-Am champion, but an overall pole position. I mean, what a qualifying session. How pleased are you with that?
Yeah, definitely pleased. Porsche definitely were strong in the rain. I expect the competition to be a lot closer when the race starts, but yeah, testing went well, so we'll see.
Yeah, strong in the rain, but currently no rain. As you rightly point out, you've got a pro driver alongside you. Most of your Pro-Am people in the same class as you in Pro-Am are quite a bit further back. Is the focus on the overall win, or are you more focused on just getting the class win?
I'm going to go for the overall win. I mean, that's why I'm here, to do the best I can. So, yeah, we'll see how it unfolds.
Love that. Go well out there. Thanks for speaking to us. Right, we're going to continue just on the grid. I've got the number 17. Now, this is the first pro car. As I said, Tim Horrell is the Pro-Am entry, and he has taken the overall pole position. But we do have the number 17 Greystone GT car, and this is the first of the pros. Hugo Back in this car. Hugo, welcome to the Winter Series. Great to see you. What are your thoughts ahead of this race?
Yeah, but the thought easier is just to win it, of course. But yeah, super happy to be there with all the guys. Greystone, first race with them, first race with McLaren. Yeah, we had kind of a moment yesterday, so happy to be in this front row and pole in class. So yeah, and more than this, it's the birthday of my sisters. It's the 17th. We are running number 17, so that's kind of a good day.
Well, let's hope it continues to be a good day. How tricky is it going to be down towards that first corner?
Well, we're going to be safe, of course, because there's nothing is going to be played at T1, and we have a really good car. The pace is going to be good. So, yep, let's have fun, and we'll see at the finish line.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of cars behind you that do want to be in front of you down to that first corner, though.
Yeah, that's for sure, But I'm pretty confident, to be honest.
All All right, thanks for speaking to us. Best of luck out there. Right, we will continue back. I know the 1 minute board is going to come out very shortly, but we'll see if we can continue back a little bit further. So that is our first pro. We come back onto the next row, and it is an all-pro row 2. We've got the number 26 of Lucas Cartelli alongside, also joining the grid for the first time. And then we have a familiar team, but not a familiar lineup, because we have Race Lab and the two brothers of Robert Cronin and Colin Cronin. Robert, the older brother, will be in this race. We will see Colin in the race 2 tomorrow. And with that, we will head to the race.
The GT4 Winter Series is about to roll for the first time in 2026. It's Porsche versus McLaren on the front row of the grid. It's Pro-Am versus Pro on the front row of the grid, with Tim Horrell of W&S Motorsport looking to claim a first overall win in the GT4 Winter Series. If he can do it, that would be sorely impressive. However, the conditions are markedly different from the conditions he got his qualifying time in. Hugo back after a big crash yesterday. The team did well to recover the car, and he felt okay in himself this morning. Back into the car, back into the grid, and starting from second. Great effort from him to bounce back. Third position will be Lucas Cartel of Speedy Motorsport, the Pro Class entry, one of 2 Toyota Supras from that crew. Third on the grid, Robert Cronin, the elder Cronin brother, graduating into full-fat GT4 cars in multi-class competition for the first time. Fifth position, Ravi Ramid for the Racetivity or L'Espace Bienvenu team in 5th position. Once again here with Charlie Robertson, once again here for a full season, and this time not an invitational entry. Then it's the first of the club class cars, Rafael Riani, proving to be a bit of a disruptor in qualifying in the older 570S GT4. That could be interesting. 7th position on the grid, Enrico Ferderer, last year's vice champion, looking to go one better. He's alongside Gonzalo Araujo on the 4th row of the grid. On row 5, the Mercedes AMG GT4, driven by Alexander Bobrovs, the Team BRT entry, alongside Pavel Savichka, the father of the father and son duo at Blue Garage Racing. Son Troy set to race later on in the weekend. They are a Pro-Am entry. Then it's an all-club class, row number 6 of the grid. The other Zome Racing McLaren 570S GT4, that's Breno Aruda, alongside Thilo Goss, the man who has an appropriately thundering car for someone so deeply involved with the band Rammstein. We'll get to that during a round flag at some point, I'm sure. Villicuna in 13th place, the 111 car alongside Jose Garcia. In 14th for Sunda Motorworks, one part of a husband and wife pairing, along with Oana Graciela. And at the back of the field, quite surprising this, Joachim Bolting starting from the rear, expecting him though to climb up through the order. And it does appear that we've lost the number 8 Speedy Motorsport Toyota, at least on those graphics. Yes, not on the grid for this race, unfortunately. So the number 8 car not taking the start in this one. That was the AM class entry, Toyota GR Supra GT4. Hopefully they're not finished for the weekend. I haven't heard anything to that extent, but certainly not on the grid for this race after issues in qualifying. So then, as with the GT Winter Series race previous, we are already running the clock. We're officially onto the second lap of the race here, but the race will properly get started with a single file start controlled by this man Tim Horrell, and you see there using the hand brake lever on his car. We had a look at the system that he utilised as a hand control reliant driver last year, and he's not changed it since then. In fact, at the start of 2025, he told me, I finally feel comfortable in the control of the car. I feel that we've got the setup right with my hand controls for the first time. And sure enough, his 2025 season was stellar, so clearly he was right on the money, as was the setup. And now coming into 2026, he's got more experience, more mileage with the car, and indeed the hand control scheme, and we'll see what he can do in 2026. He's got off to the best possible start, leading from pole position in a full fat GT4 race for the first time, and let's see what he can do up against Hugo Bach. Hugo Bach, a driver that we would expect on paper to be able to clear Tim, but who knows, Tim Horrell may have found a bit of an X factor over the winter here.
Yeah, well, certainly in qualifying and in treacherous conditions as well, actually managing to really impress with that pole position effort. But then Hugo doesn't even necessarily have the pro class wrapped up, because he was only about 4/10 quicker than Lucas Cartel. So if Tim Horrell can hang on at the front as a pro-am, that would be impressive. But that then leaves us to question what exactly is going to happen in the pro class itself. The next three drivers, Hugo Bach, Lucas Cartel and Robert Cronin, all classified as pros, and all are looking to try and start their season off with a class victory. That AM battle is fascinating, as you said, with Jochen Bolting starting out of position, you'd have to say. I think we're in for an entertaining 25 minutes or so of racing. Expect the safety car in this time, Adam, and yeah, interesting to see what happens.
I would wager that qualifying has told us almost nothing about how this race is going to play out here in the GT4 Winter Series. The conditions are markedly different, the circumstances are markedly different, but the thrills, I think, will be next level here as we kick off the GT4 Winter Series at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve here in sunny Portimão. Sometimes sunny Portimão. It's had its moments today. Tim Horrell is out onto the final corner. He's put the hammer down by the looks of it. We are racing, and Hugo Bach has really timed the start to perfection behind him. The McLaren Artura in second place. Lucas Cartel has got a good run down the main straight as well. But it's Tim Horrell who leads them to the first proper lap at racing speeds. And by the time they get to turn one, Cartel side by side with Hugo Bach. He's not quite going to get there. Robert Cronin with Ravi Ramyid up his inside. Ramyid being a disruptor. Another AM driver from a Pro-Am lineup taking an early move forward. These AM drivers getting a little bit good by the looks of it. The 32 of Jochen Bolting in a spin at turn one. The woes continue for him as Lucas Cartel is challenging his teammate for the overall lead. Around the outside at the T5 hairpin, they accelerate out of the corner. Horrell should just about hold on, but that Supra looks punchy in a straight line as they climb up the hill towards the apexes of turn 7 and turn 8. It'll be Cartel on the inside line, and Tim Horrell tries to hold on, but he gets dispatched to first, second, and then down to third place. Cartel into the race lead then, and Hugo Bach following him through into second place. The Supra's strengths are clearly when the steering wheel is pointed in a straight line.
Yes, and the McLaren doesn't seem all that strong in a straight line, does it? Tim Horrell closes back in on Hugo Bach, almost gets into the back of the McLaren Artura as they turn into the right-hander there at turn 11. But what a brilliant start for Lucas Cartel, who not only has managed to get the lead, but actually has built himself a little bit of a buffer as we approach the end of the opening lap. That is Ravi Ramyid dicing now for fourth position, with Enrico Ferderer off, I'm afraid, is the 96 car. And that is Rafael Rayani, and I think has stopped towards the side of the road, possibly with a mechanical issue rather than an off. We'll see whether or not he's able to get that car back on the road. But I said a lively race was on its way, Adam, and a very lively opening lap. A decent lead though for Cartel, 7/10 of a second already.
Yeah, exactly. Cartel with the early lead then as this race fires into life. We ride on board with Enrico Ferderer in the 11 car. There have been some dramas down there in the SR Motorsport pit with the GT4 cars. I think it was the 11 that had to be replaced. They had to get the spare car out because of an engine issue. Meanwhile, Tim Horrell is not giving Hugo Bach any breathing room. Yes, he's got down to third place, got demoted to third place, but Hugo Bach under immense pressure from Tim Horrell in second and third position. In fourth place, Ravi Ramyid, under immense pressure as well from Enrico Federer, the Espace Bienvenue BMW. That car, of course, last year, or at least that entry last year, was under the designation of Century Motorsport, but a new team has emerged.
Oh, they were side by side, I think, there, Horrell and Back. I think Hugo Back managed to hang on, but Tim Horrell really wants to get back past the McLaren driver. I think he feels he's quicker than Hugo Back right now. And, of course, he's got Ravi Ramyid catching him. Remember, Ramyid is also in a Pro-Am entry, the same class as Horrell, was half a second quicker than Tim in the first sector alone on this lap. So there you can see, well, the BMW was catching. It nearly got assaulted by Enrico Federer's Mercedes as they went through the right-hander then. But the red and black Porsche and the bit of everything coloured BMW, they are battling for Pro-Am victory, and that gap is coming down.
The Zone Racing McLaren that we saw pulled up on the side of the circuit at turn 7, Rafael Riani, has continued on, so I think it may have been a Control-Alt-Delete get the manual out, user error kind of situation, but the car is now running and rolling once again. He'll have to work hard to try and win the club class. He's given himself a minute's worth of handicap, so we'll see what the karting graduate can do. I believe this is his very first motor race in a car. In fact, no, he's done a couple of Caterham races. He did confide that to me, but in terms of GT racing, in terms of having a roof over his head, absolutely new ground for him. Enrico Federer then, who of course won the ADAC GT4 Germany Championship overall, along with his cohort Jamo Hartling, who we'll see in the GT Winter Series in tomorrow's second race of the weekend. He'll be looking to try and stamp his authority on this one and try and fight for an overall podium, but right now Ravi Ramyid and moreover the rather bulbous BMW are making it quite difficult for the German.
Yeah, Ravi strong in that first sector, a purple first sector for Ramyid, so fastest of anybody so far, but then out of the hairpin at turn 5 seems a bit sluggish. Federer to the inside, dab of the brakes look for the Mercedes driver. He realised that was a low percentage move that he was attempting, and Ravi Ramyid for now hangs on. Very interesting, though, to see the various strengths and weaknesses. I actually thought, Adam, as we rode on board with Federer into turn 1, he looked so much more committed on the brakes than Ramyid. And yet by the end of that sector, only 2 or 3 corners later, Ramyid was setting a purple time. So corner by corner, these battles are going to ebb and flow ever so slightly. But Enrico Federer, remember, a pro driver, this isn't really the battle he wants to be having with a Pro-Am car. But to get onto terms with his pro rivals, he needs to make progress, particularly past the BMW in front of him.
Yes, absolutely, but we saw last year, of course, Ravi Ramyid and indeed Charlie Robertson kind of disrupting the order of things, particularly since they were an invitational car running the Evo spec before it was formally homologated by the SRO, and that led to some very interesting moments sometimes with Ravi kind of being an informal Pro-Am and getting in on the battle, and they had a great season. It's great to now have them fighting for championship, fighting for points here in the GT4 Winter Series, and I spoke to Ravi at the British GT Media Day just a few days after our season ended in 2025, and he said, I feel so sharp. I feel like I'm on the money, in the groove, ready to go. I've never felt this way at the start of a season before, and that's why he knew even back then, yeah, I'm coming back for seconds in the GT4 Winter Series. Enrico Federer, still after his first helping of a move on Ramyid, he's not been close enough to make the move just yet, but we saw how strong the car was under braking on a couple of occasions. You see Ravi Ramyid there using all the circuit and a bit more coming out of turn 4. Federer, though, not quite close enough for a move at the hairpin at turn 5. Ultimately, at the front of the field, it's Cartel leading the race, but he was 4/10 slower than Hugo Back on the previous lap, and for a second lap in a row, it's almost identical, the situation, as Federer again tries to stick his nose to the inside of Ravi Ramyid, and Ravi's committed to his bit and said, absolutely not. No, my car's ahead. I'm going to cut your nose off.
Well, we've seen in the past, haven't we, that Ravi is not one usually to back down from a fight. We saw that not only in Winter Series last year, but throughout what was a very successful British GT campaign last year in the British GT4 category. Adam mentioned that he felt very much race ready at the start of that season. That really showed, didn't it, in the early results, particularly last year. It was only really a crash at Alton Park midway through the season that derailed their championship. They still managed to take the fight to the last round, though, didn't they? So they are a pair of drivers who gel very well, he and Charlie Robertson, and they don't tend to back out of a scrap. This is a good defensive drive so far from Ravi. It is, though, losing him time. Now, I'm going to make the point, Adam, that I always make, and it is always ignored by drivers. But is there an argument to say here that Ravi could possibly let Enrico Federer go, work with the Mercedes driver, and maybe still have a chance of catching back up to Tim Horrell, his class leader, because actually that gap now is going up.
If I win the lottery, I'll fund an AM seat for you, so you can finally grasp why they never will do it, Andy. But yes, point taken. Perhaps there could be a logic to that, to try and get that toe from Federer to the back of Tim Horrell. But Tim, in fairness, is absolutely holding his own in third overall. He is an AM element of a Pro-Am lineup, but he's keeping up with Cartel and Hugo Back, who are two pro drivers, two seasoned pro drivers at that. Hugo Back is someone who has won races in Super Trofeo Europe, in the GT4 France series, the FFSA GT4s. He knows absolutely what he's doing, and Lucas Cartel also has a great bevy of experience, raced last year in the GT4 European Series. But Enrico Federer scrapping and holding on to the rear of Ravi Ramid for now. This is the battle to be watching by the looks of it, 4th and 5th position. Can Federer finally do it? He keeps getting these good runs, but he doesn't quite find a car's width.
It's the middle sector, isn't it, where the Mercedes is so strong, from turn 5 all the way through the uphill section. In fact, there is the move out of sort of nowhere, really, into turn 11. Ramid will try to get the switchback, but the next corner is a fast left-hander. He'll try and duck underneath into turn number 13, but that line is covered by Enrico Federer. And the point I was building up to make is that if the move was going to come anywhere, it would be in the middle sector. Of course, he overtakes in the first corner that is part of the third sector, turn number 11. But you see my point. It built up through that middle sector. He was so strong through the switchbacks and finally has clear air in front of him. I'll be interested now, Adam, to watch that gap from Tim Horrell 3rd to Enrico Federer 4th, see if it comes down and see whether Ramyi can go with him.
Yes, that will be very interesting. The BMW is usually pretty strong, though, in a straight line, so I'm wondering if turn 1 may present some challenges. It has presented some challenges for 2nd overall. Tim Horrell, don't call it a comeback as he goes around the outside, tries to find his way through, but Hugo Braver and later on the brakes. Did Ravi Ramid get his position back, I wonder, because they were very close as they came across the line, but I think Federer should still just about be there in 4th position. We ride on board with Tim Horrell as you see him there fighting the car at the apex of turn 4. Turn 4 seems to stay damper longer than a lot of this track. There are a couple of small ravines that build, and you see there Ravi Ramid just at the top of shot was still behind Enrico Federer, so Federer holding on by a thread for P4 at the moment. And now that they're into the middle sector with the Mercedes ahead, to your point from the previous lap, perhaps a car length or two will now build, and Tim Horrell will maybe have to keep an eye on the rear view mirrors in the latter minutes of this race. For now, though, he's facing forward and looking to try and challenge for this 2nd overall.
Fastest lap of the race for Tim Horrell last time by 151.8. He looks to the inside. This is where Federer made his move a lap ago, just a length or so too far back. But this is fantastic to see. Tim Horrell started on pole, okay, didn't manage to stay in the lead, but actually the pace he's got now is matching, in fact, quicker than the race leader, with still 13 3/4 minutes to go. If he can dispatch of Hugo Back pretty quickly, he might yet have a chance to go up there and challenge for the win. In the background, Ramid is back ahead of Federer. These AM drivers are not backing down, are they?
Absolutely not. Bronze? What bronze? Although they want to stay bronze, really, with the SRO or with the FIA driver ranking setup. Ravi Ramid is up into 4th position once again, and Enrico Federer, I think, is going to be gesticulating wildly. I'd love to know quite how that move came about, but Ramid is now up into 4th place once again. Enrico Federer is now once again tasked with the challenge of getting around the mighty BMW M4, the G82 in Evo spec. As it is. Tim Horrell there again, right on the back of Hugo Back, 2nd and 3rd positions. They are split by a couple of hundredths of a second. Ramid seems to have control for now over this fight with Federer, but of course the middle sector is coming, and we'll see whether your analysis proves correct again. Andy, Tim Horrell! Tim Horrell with a problem! That looked like a brake or maybe a suspension, but certainly something on the front left corner has failed. And after a brilliant performance, Tim Horrell, unjustly, I feel, has had a problem, and you're spotting some debris down there, Andy.
It looked like a brake, didn't it? It looked like a brake rotor or brake disc had exploded. It's we can't say for certain, but what a shame for Tim Horrell, who had driven a fantastic race to that point. Luckily, he avoided the back of Hugo Back's McLaren, because if it was a brake issue, then he did very well to avoid colliding with the back of the car in front of him, and hopefully that can be fixed for tomorrow. What a shame, though, and that, of course, hands the class lead now to Ravi Ramneed in the BMW, so in a way, he'll be glad now that he's back in front of Enrico Ferderer. No reason to work with the Mercedes driver now. He's inherited the class lead as it is, but that is heartbreaking stuff for Tim Horrell, who up to that point hadn't really put a foot wrong.
Yes, and it's a blow to his Pro-Am title defence. If I remember correctly, he's currently scheduled to skip one round of the season, so he really needed to maximise his point scores against Ramneed and Robertson, and that's going to be a big blow for him going into the rest of the weekend. He'll be devastated with that, because it was such a good performance up to that point. Things have somewhat stabilised here between Ramneed and Ferderer. The gap is now out to around a second between the two of them, and Ravi Ramneed again extracting great pace from the BMW run by the L'Espace Bienvenu team, which is run by the Racetivity organisation behind the scenes. Quite a prominent French race team looking after quite a bevy of GT cars. Meanwhile, we should touch base on some of these other classes as the AM car of Jose Garcia gets put a lap down there. The leading car in AM is Alexander Bobrov's in the Team VRT machine. However, he's being hunted down at a rate of about 3 seconds a lap by Joachim Bolting on his recovery drive. In about a lap and a half, I think Bolting will be all over the rear of the Team VRT Mercedes for the AM class honours. Of course, our Pro-Am lead is Ravi Ramneed in third place, and second in class now, after the issue for Tim Horrell, is Pavel Savicka in the Blue Garage Racing Lotus GT4, the Emira. We ride on board with Jose Garcia. Jose Garcia in the number 24 machine there, just making things easy for the Aston Martin that went past. That's Gonzalo Araujo in that Pro Class entry. I think that was recategorized after a change of car, a change of driver a couple of days before the race began. And leading in the club class is Breno Arruda for Zone Racing in the McLaren 570S GT4. He's only 6 seconds clear of Thilo Goss. Those two seem to be about equipaced out there on the circuit as well. We'll see if Thilo can maybe try and reel in the final third of the race. We're down under 10 minutes of the race left to go, and Robert Cronin seems to quietly be chipping away on Enrico Ferderer as well. He was a couple of tenths quicker on that previous lap, and the gap is only 1.1 seconds.
Well, and another gap that's coming down is second to third. Ravi Ramneed on the previous lap a full second quicker than Hugo Back, and he was about 3/4 of a second quicker on the lap before. So this man here, Ravi Ramneed, is on a charge to try and close in on second place overall. Back, to be fair, seems to be losing pace. He's suddenly 6.7 seconds back from race leader Lucas Cartel. Well, that was hovering around a second and a half for much of the race, really. So second and third coming down. Ferderer under threat maybe shortly from Robert Cronin in fifth. Also, just to pick up on that number 24 car that we were watching earlier on, Jose Garcia actually has picked up a drive-through penalty for an infringement of Article 34.3. Now, of the two of us, Adam, you're the more likely to have memorised the regulations, but I wouldn't necessarily expect even you to know what that is. Either way, that car will be visiting the pit lane, hopefully shortly, to serve that drive-through penalty.
And here we see this AM class lead that we spoke about 1 or 2 laps ago. Joachim Bolting is T-minus maybe half a lap from being on the back of Alexander Bobrov's. Now, I'm sure the Team VRT team will be keeping abreast of the situation. He will be informed, yes, this is for position. Yes, this is for the class lead. The safety car lights, though, are on. I've not seen yellow flags or a reason for them out around the circuits. That may have just been procedural or a checkup or something of that nature, but we've not seen any yellow flags around the circuit. Nonetheless, the number 18 of Alexander Bobrov's is running in the class lead. Joachim Bolting, who we saw, of course, starting at the back, we then saw spinning at turn 1 on lap 1, and judging by that damage, maybe with some help as well, he's now right on the back of the AM class lead as we go through the final corner. I think as they come out of the corner of the final turn, it will be bolting in the slipstream, but I thought maybe he'd be a bit closer coming around that final turn with the Porsche Cayman's rotation, but no, the Mercedes holding on. But by the end of the straight, it is Joachim bolting to the inside line. Is it for the lead? Oh, not quite yet.
Yeah, that was a good effort there, wasn't it? Like you said, gained a lot of ground in a straight line, and he'll definitely be plotting, I think, to use that next time by if he hasn't got past the Mercedes up to that point. Alexander Bobrovs, though, will want to try and defend this if he can. 6 3/4 minutes to go, so he hasn't got to hang on in the grand scheme of things for all that long. The Porsche, though, will close as they come over the hill, looks to the inside line, and this time Joachim Bolting is late on the brakes, hits that debris that came from Tim Horrell's Porsche. Hope that didn't do any damage. Through he goes, and he should now have the traction up the hill as well to make that one stick. Yes, he does. So Joachim Bolting then through to the lead of the AM class that we saw coming a few laps ago, but actually took him a bit longer maybe to make the move than he would have been expecting. So Porsche then ahead of Mercedes. And as they turn through the right-hander there at turn number 8, they climb uphill and dive back down. There is a yellow flag and there is a safety car. So the safety car being scrambled. We're still not 100% sure why we've got a safety car. Possibly for that debris on the track, I suppose. But with 6 minutes to go, this bunches everyone back together.
It does indeed, yes. Quite an interesting situation. We've got one car, I thought, there in the pits. That might have been one of the GT cars from the previous race, actually. It might just be that Tim Horrell isn't actually in the recovery. He's kind of in the runoff area still, based on that shot we just got of Tim Horrell. And of course, for Tim, it's important that we get him into safety because he can't necessarily get himself clear of the car, so maybe that's a part of it as well. All the same, Lucas Cartel, with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left of the race, I think he'll be hoping we're drawing a line under it because he had built himself a lead of over 8 seconds. He was lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Hugo Back at the time that we called the safety car, and he'll be saying, please, just let me have this one. But we'll see whether or not we have a return to racing. Certainly, I think this should be a fairly brief safety car if it is only to make sure that Tim Horrell's car is moved away from the firing line and to collect what did indeed very much look like half a brake disc at turn 5. But you see there the recovery car in position. I think the gap in the fence there at turn 5 isn't quite Cayman sized, so they're having to get it on the tow rope and sort everything out. But that should be, in theory, a fairly quick recovery.
Fingers crossed, as you said, not for this man, Lucas Cartel. He would quite like to follow that safety car home to the checkered flag, but one man who's definitely going to be rubbing his hands with glee here is Ravi Ramid. We documented the pace that he had, the pace advantage that he had really over Hugo Back in that developing battle for second place. Give Ravi Ramid a one-lap shootout to the flag and you can be fairly certain he'll have a go at making the move. So Ravi, he'll be hoping to see those lights extinguished before too much longer, and be interesting to see what it does to some of the battles in other classes as well. The club class, for example, Breno Aruda and Thilo Goss, they were only about a second or so apart, I think, when the safety car came out. Very evenly matched in lap times up to this point, so the Aston Martin driver may yet hold out some hopes of snatching a class win.
Yeah, the fact that Thilo is pretty close behind is going to be interesting. I think they'd kind of ebbed and flowed a bit in terms of gap at various points, but yes, now that they are going to be together in the safety car queue, I wouldn't put it past Thilo Goss to make a move. And Thilo, of course, we saw him last year in his orange Aston Martin Vantage, the first generation V8 Vantage. This year he's in the black car, that's James 4. The orange one is called James 3. I haven't fully got the brief on James 2 and 1, nor do I know what he's named his newly purchased DTM Mercedes. I don't think you can call that one James. I suggested Bernd after Bernd Schneider, but I'm not sure it went in. Lucas Cartel leading the race then and looking at those safety car lights, I suspect, throughout that second sector of the lap and wishing that they stay illuminated. With this kind of lap time, what were the last laps? Around 2 minutes 50. So the safety car might need to hurry up here to make sure we go back to racing. In fact, Lucas Cartel may do some gamesmanship here, of course, and make sure that he doesn't cross the line until the 0 if the safety car lights do go out. we may unfortunately be faced with a situation here where we do end under safety car, because right now it's very marginal.
I think that perhaps Lucas Cartel, he did have a particularly slow last lap. We saw him catch the safety car and then sort of stop next to the safety car on the apex of turn 1. My point being, he could well go a little bit quicker this time by, but as you say, he may not want to do that. Just because the safety car has turned its lights off and disappeared into the pit lane does not mean that you have to hit the loud pedal and accelerate yourself. So yeah, could see some strategic stuff here from Lucas Cartel. He should be reasonably confident in his abilities, though, that he'd be able to gap the Hugo back car anyway, because of course his pace was pretty strong before the safety car anyway.
And what I was spotting there behind our timing tower was that we have got Tim Horrell behind there it is, behind the wall now, as is the rescue car. So we are good to go on that front. The presumed safety car cause has been eradicated. Now there are still cars, as we saw Jose Garcia was holding up, I think Luis Aguilar going around under safety car conditions. Now, sometimes we do wait until everyone is grouped back together, but come on, let's get this going. We've got a minute of the race left to go. We've got a prime one-lap shootout waiting to go. You don't have to group them all together, strictly speaking, before the safety car comes in. I've seen it happen elsewhere, but if it is the case, it is illogical. I do understand why we maybe would not, but the safety car, will it come in? Will it stay out? We've got 40 seconds left on the clock, and the safety car lights would really need to have already come out. Race director says it will finish behind the safety car. That is a shame, especially since we've sped up the safety car this lap. We will get an extra lap of racing, or at least driving behind the safety car. But unfortunately, no, we're not quite going to get back to racing conditions on this one, which is a shame. But again, for Lucas Cartel, perhaps for Hugo back with Ravi Ramyud behind him, I think that's a measure of relief.
Yes, I suspect so. The flag, is it going to wave this time? Are we going to go round another lap? No, we're going to go round another lap. So I suppose we have to go through the motions. Technically, the drivers have not yet completed race distance, although Lucas Cartel almost looked as though he was weaving in celebration there. That was some very exuberant tyre warming, if that's what that was. And now settles back onto the line. So not necessarily the flourish at the finish that Lucas Cartel would have been hoping for, but he'll be very grateful for the race win, and a hard-fought one as well. And another driver who didn't start on the front row, who is going to come home a race winner, seemingly. That's been the story of the day, really, in both this and GT Winter Series. And the speedy motorsport Toyota GR Supra looks as though it is going to claim the race victory. Have we had a Toyota race victory before in Winter Series?
No.
GT4? I don't think we have we?
Not.
So first there, the Artura second, also not a car that we've seen a huge amount of, if at all, in GT4 Winter Series competition. So things are changing, and good to see lots of new cars. Really good variety on the grid as well, actually, this year in GT4, with Toyota, McLaren, BMW, Aston Martin, Porsche, Mercedes, Lotus, all represented. That's really the great thing about GT4 these days. We've seen it in British GT and lots of GT4 categories around the world. So many cars now that you can take your pick from, and good to see most of them represented here in GT4 Winter Series.
Absolutely, only 4 manufacturers have won a GT4 Winter Series across the 2 years so far. McLaren with the most victories, 12. Mercedes, Aston Martin and Porsche the other winning marks. So Toyota will add their name to what is currently quite a short list. Will we see more names, to Andy's point, pop up on that particular statistical front as the season goes on? The safety car will withdraw so that Lucas Cartel can put the hammer down and celebrate the win properly for Speedy Motorsport, for Lucas Cartel, and indeed for the Toyota mark. It will be a first GT4 Winter Series victory as they round the final corner at speed. The Belgian driver for one of the top teams in Portuguese GT racing will claim the victory, and it'll be a well-deserved second place for Hugo back at Greystone GT after needing to repair the car yesterday. And Ravi Ramyud with an overall podium as well. He crosses the line in third to win Pro-Am, and he was really showing up and showing out in that race. Lucas Cartel at Speedy Motorsport then claiming the race win. not perhaps the way he would have wanted to win under the safety car, but I think probably relieved that we didn't get the one-lap shootout scenario. Enrico Ferreira finishing 4th place behind that overall podium, ahead of Robert Cronin in the Race Lab McLaren Artura GT4, and then the Araujo Competição Aston Martin Vantage of Gonzalo Araujo finishing in 6th overall ultimately. The AM class win, of course, going to Joachim Bolting, who finished 7th overall eventually, following that exchange for position with Alexander Bobrovs just before the safety car came out, as a matter of fact. So he certainly picked his moment to make the move. And in the club class, the victory went the way of Breno Arruda for Zone Racing and the McLaren 570S GT4. Of course, Thilo Goss was there on the bumper. There may have been a bit of fireworks in the club class as well if we had got that one last racing lap. But a very interesting race with the AM elements of Pro-Am lineups proving to be very quick indeed. And a shame for Tim Horrell that he didn't get the overall podium that his pace really did justify. Horrell, who started on pole position, was running top 3 all race and indeed was matching pace with Hugo Back and to a lesser extent Lucas Cartel, who really ramped it up as the race went on. But all the same, a great performance from Tim Horrell, and he'll be disappointed to end up with nothing to show for it ultimately, but we'll see him back out, of course, in the endurance race on Sunday. His co-driver in that car, Frederik Zbies, the karting graduate who comes in as a race-winning driver in the BNL karting series in the Benelux region, he will be at the helm for race number 2, and he was looking very quick earlier on in qualifying, so he'll be one to watch. Look at this, we have some weight scale fun going on here. Drivers picking up some debris on the outside of the circuit and even on the grass, so everyone wanting to make sure they stay on the right side of the scales. There was a drive-through penalty towards the end of the race for the number 24, Jose Garcia, who was 14th position ultimately. The AM class car, that was for drive-through procedure, so that is not really going to affect anything in the overall standings, but still a little bit of a blow post-race for the Sunda Motorworks team. For Speedy Motorsport, though, in a first GT4 Winter Series appearance, it is a first GT4 Winter Series win, and that is a matter of great pride, I'm sure, for the team. Lucas Cartel, the Belgian racer who had quite the unique bring up through the sport. He was in cross cars, of all things, won an FIA Motorsport Games gold medal at the 2024 iteration of the Motorsport Games. He's moved up into the world of GT racing and has quickly set himself up as one to watch. A race win here in the GT4 Winter Series. I think that might be his first win in a GT car point blank, if my record book memory serves me correctly. And the embraces, the congratulations being dished out justifiably on a very, very strong drive. He was dominating before that safety car came out. And I imagine there's just an iota of relief that he didn't have to defend on the final lap from the pack that had assembled behind him. Lucas Cartel then a race winner. Speedy Motorsport race winners as well. And I think that's going to be one very happy young Belgian. He seems to do well in the Iberian region in the Motorsport Games in Valencia. As we said, he got that gold medal, and now he comes down to Portugal for the GT4 Winter Series. And his first attempt in the series, he is a winner. Great effort from all three of our teams on the overall podium, and again, a standout drive from Ravi Ramyid. Myself and Andy, I think, were both fairly blown away by the fact that it looked like he was closing in on the second place overall. Hugo Back, who has a great record in GT racing as a young pro driver. I think Hugo may be driving in a little bit of pain after having an accident yesterday in that car. But all the same, Ravi Ramyid put on quite the show in that race, and a great start to the partnership, of course, between Ravi, Charlie Robertson, and the Espace Bienvenue team, the French outfit taking Ravi and Charlie on as they move into the European GT4 scene for the 2026 season. Let's go down to Izzy, though, because she's ready to talk to our winner.
I am indeed with our winner, the first winner of the GT4s this season, Lucas alongside me. And not only the first winner of the GT4s this season in our paddock, but it is a first win in GT4s altogether for Lucas. Congratulations. I mean, some people may have been disappointed to see the race under safety car, but you were probably relatively relieved to not get back going again.
Yeah, I am really happy for this win. It's my first win in GT, first races in the Return Series, so yeah, I'm really happy. I worked hard for them, and yeah, so proud of me.
Until the safety car, it was quite a quiet race for you. It was all going on behind you. There were battles going on behind you. Could you see it in your rear view, and were you happy to see them battling behind you?
Yeah, it's not a really good sensation, because when you win the race, when you win the race and you see behind and you look the whole car behind you, it's really difficult. So yeah, I managed to win these races, and I'm really happy.
Well, congratulations, a very good job. We'll let you get up to the podium and celebrate. Thanks for speaking to us, our first winner in the GT4s.
Yeah, big congratulations to Lucas Cartel on his first win in GTs. And we can now get a little bit of a look at what happened in that race. We started, of course, under a rolling start in single file after 2 formation laps, and immediately Cartel was on the move from third on the grid, trying to go around the outside of Hugo back. And he managed to succeed at doing so. Tim Horrell, though, the Pro-Am driver, the bronze-rated driver at the overall front of the field, tried to hold on to the lead side by side into turn 7, but with the inside line and the toe of the Toyota, which had some great straight line speed, he moved into the lead. Lucas Cartel, Tim Horrell and Hugo Back began fighting for second position, and Horrell would remain right there in the wing mirrors of Hugo Back for much of the race. We saw that exchange a couple of times between Ravi Ramyid and Enrico Ferderer as they were dicing it out for 4th overall. There was some good battling further down the field as well. Joachim Bolting, of course, making his way back up the pack after a first lap spin, and this was the move from Enrico Ferderer, using what seems to be a lot of poise through the middle sector to set himself up for a move there at turn 10 on Ravi Ramyid, but Ramyid, of course, would fire back. We were watching this battle between Ramyid and Ferderer. We were watching Hugo Back go at it as well with Tim Horrell. Lots of exciting fights, but unfortunately, Tim Horrell's campaign in the race came to an end with what looked an awful lot like a brake disc exploding in the wheel. An unfortunate conclusion to what had been a brilliant race. The AM lead changing hands just before the safety car came out. That was Joachim Bolting getting past Alexander Zbobrov's for 7th overall and the AM win. The safety car was then brought out to recover Tim Horrell's machine, and we did not get back to full racing conditions. The safety car pulling in at the end to allow Lucas Cartel to cross the line and take the flag at speed. Hugo Back finishing runner-up, Ramyid rounding out the podium. But what a performance it was from Cartel. He'd built almost 10 seconds worth of lead before the safety car came out, so definitely a justified winner in the GT4 Winter Series for Speedy Motorsport in that Toyota, the 5th manufacturer ever to win in this series. Hugo Back in the McLaren Artura GT4 finishing 2nd for Greystone GT. In 3rd place, the Espace Bienvenue car of Ravi Ramyid, the Pro-Am winner. 4th position, Enrico Ferderer for SR Motorsport by Schnitzelbaum. Race Labs' Robert Cronin finishing in 5th place in the McLaren Artura, and then the Araujo Competição Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4 in 6th position. WNS Motorsports' Joachim Bulting 7th overall and first among the AM class runners, just about getting that pass in before it was too late on Alexander Bobrovs for the AM class lead. Pavel Savicka in 9th overall and 2nd in the Pro-Am category, ahead of the winning club class car Breno Aruda, the Caterham graduate, moving up and getting an overall top 10 as well as a club class win, ahead of Thilo Goss in 11th, Vili Kuna in 12th place, Luis Aguar in 13th position, ahead of Jose Garcia, the last of our finishers. Unfortunately, Tim Horrell was not able to take the start, and the number 8 car was not able to, or sorry, Tim Horrell didn't reach the finish. The number 8 car did not take the start. Andreas Zemaitis and Roy Schwartz unfortunately not able to race. We'll get some word as to whether we'll see them tomorrow, no doubt, but a non-starter in this race. What a drive, though, from Tim Horrell, even though he's off the Pro-Am podium and not a race finisher. Still a laudable performance to be up there and fighting for the overall places. Same applies to Ravi Ramid. That was the story of this race, and I think it's going to be the story of the weekend. An intermingling of classes, the club class cars getting in amongst it with the Pro-Ams, with the AMs, and in the faster end of the Pro-Am class, I think they're going to be doing some disturbing among the Pro Class runners as well. A great start to the GT4 Winter Series season. Unfortunate to see Tim Horrell there on the flatbed, but we will see that car back out for race number 2 alongside his teammate in the number 30 machine, and that is Fredrik Zabis, the Danish driver graduating from the world of karting. So the light fading already here at Portimão. That was our final race of the broadcast. We'll be back for a double helping of both the GT4 and the GT Winter Series on Sunday. Of course, their third and final races will be pit stop races. An hour for the GT4 Winter Series, 55 minutes for the GT Winter Series, and we'll see that one unfold throughout Sunday. Make sure you join us for that full-length broadcast, a full day of racing among the GTs. Of course, do stay with us to see the podiums. We'll get some more insight from Andy McEwen in just a few moments up there on the podium. He'll get to pick some of the brains of our class winners. I suspect Ravi Ramid will be understated as always, in spite of his great performance in that race. And what a great start to the collaboration with the French Racetivity race preparation squad, and indeed L'Espace Bienvenu, the French BMW dealership group that puts their name to that entry. I think there will be a lot of positives for a lot of teams from that race, and I think Hugo Bach will be among the happy drivers as well, because yesterday he had his accident. The team had to get the car repaired, and they've managed to get a second place overall as their reward. Going into Sunday, we've got some very interesting stories to tell, I think, in the GT4 grid. Chief among them, Mattis Plushkel in the old Aston Martin Vantage GT4, the BWT Muka Motorsport car. He's actually starting 4th on the grid for tomorrow's race. The wet qualifying playing into the hands of the young German in the slightly older vintage GT4 machine in the club class. And it's great to see the 570S and the V8 Vantage in amongst the modern cars. We don't see that very often outside the GT4 Winter Series, and the cars are still clearly quite capable. Let's go down to Andy McEwen. He has our drivers ready to go.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, our second and final podium of the day, and it is the GT4 Winter Series. We'll start with the club category. 3 drivers to welcome onto the podium, and we start with our third place finisher, Luis Aguiar. Congratulations, Luis. The Zone Racing driver heads to the third step of the podium to be joined by our class runner-up. Second place in club class, Thilo Goss. Thilo makes the familiar journey to the podium. It's the second step only today, though, because the victory in the club class goes to Breno Aruda. Breno gets a great reception from the crowd of team members down below and heads to the top step of the podium. We'll have a quick chat with Breno in a moment or two, but he will celebrate the race victory. The trophies now head out, and we've got Luigi Premuda from Pirelli here on hand to give the winner's trophy out for each category. So Breno Arruda, the first to receive a handshake from the man from Pirelli. And trophy held aloft for Breno Arruda, who celebrates a win in the club class in the first race of the GT4 Winter Series. Let's, they're just going to get their photos taken on the top step of the podium. And that rain that was threatened never did arrive, did it? So pretty good conditions in the end for the drivers. Breno, we're going to try and have a chat with you if that's all right. And come down, Breno. We'll talk to our race winner in the club class. Congratulations. Happy with that result?
Yeah, of course. I didn't expect that. So it was a good race.
And what were the conditions like? Because it was still a little wet?
Yeah, a little bit, just in some points, but it's okay.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations, well done on the club class victory. Breno Arruda for Zone Racing then gets the winner's trophy in the club class, and he is very happy with that. We move on to the AM category, and we'll introduce first our third place finisher, Jose Garcia. Well done, Jose. The Spaniard heads to the third step of the podium. Second position in the AM class after that late change of lead was Alexander Bobrovs, who has wrapped up nice and warm in a Team VRT jacket, and he heads to the second step of the podium. What a fight back it was, though. It's another win in the AM class for Joachim Balting. Congratulations, Joachim. Made things a little bit tricky for himself in that one, coming through from the back after that early spin, but managed to just about grab the lead, and in very timely fashion, really, with that safety car coming out quite late in the race. He potentially might have run out of time, but just got there before the safety car intervention. So, as the trophies are held aloft, again, photos taken, then Joachim Balting for WNS Motorsport celebrates a win in the AM class. Joachim is always good for a chat, and I look forward to hearing exactly what happened. I don't think we ever saw what happened to Joachim Balting in that race, so now is our chance to find out. Joachim, can we have a chat down here, please? So, that was an interesting race. What happened at the start?
I wanted to do too much at the first corner, and I made a mistake. I spun, and excuse me, I touched another car, but after that it went in the right direction.
You nearly ran out of time, of course, because of the late safety car. You just got back there in time. Were you confident that you had the pace to do that?
I think so, because at the practice it was everything fine, and also in the qualifying, but we have a gearbox problem in the qualifying. That was the reason why I couldn't finish the second qualifying. And this was now a spare car. First time that I had been driven this, but it's perfect done by the team.
Fantastic. Well done, Joachim. Congratulations, Joachim Balting, on the win in the AM class. A fighting drive, as we've come to expect from Joachim, who jogs down the steps to celebrate with the team. So, two more podium presentations to do. The Pro-Am class is up next. Third place for SR Motorsport by Schnitzelau, Willy Kuhn. Well done, onto the top step of the podium. He will, the third step, sorry, of the podium, he will head. Second position for the Blue Garage Racing driver, Pavel Savichka. Well done, second place for Pavel. But it is a race victory in the Pro-Am class. Another fighting drive, some really impressive pace from our race winner, Ravi Ramyid. Out he goes with a big smile on his face, and Ravi continues this fantastic form that he's had over the last 12 months or so. Said that he felt really race ready at the end of the Winter Series last year. That propelled him to a brilliant campaign in British GT, and he continues that form into 2026 with a class win and a brilliant result overall in the GT4 Winter Series season opener. So Ravi, along with Willy and Pavel, will gather together on the top step of the podium. And the, as always, beautiful trophies that we have in Winter Series are held aloft for the cameras, not only on the podium but down below as well. And before he runs off, let's have a chat with Ravi, if that's okay. Do you want to wander over this way, Ravi? Well, congratulations. Great class victory. Little bit of good fortune in there, but you were on the pace from the start.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we got away okay, and McLaren defended and I got away from him. And then Enrico caught me on a good scrap with him. That was really entertaining. And when the safety car came out, I thought I'm going to have a very angry Enrico up my arse for the next 6 minutes. But thankfully, we ended up in the safety car. But no, you want to win clean and fair. It's a shame Tim's car didn't finish. I would have liked to have a really good scrap with him. They do need to slow the Porsches down a little bit first, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I sort of expected something like that from you there, Ravi. Congratulations, though. Well done on the class win. Ravi Ramid, the winner in the Pro-Am class. And we now welcome our Pro top 3 finishers. We start then with a man who, as we heard there, had a great scrap with Ravi Ramid in that race. It's 3rd place in the Pro class for Enrico Ferreira. Out comes Enrico, punches the air a little bit gently, but then it was a 3rd place finish. He'll be gunning for the top step tomorrow, I'm sure. 2nd position after a great defensive drive, Hugo back. And Hugo gets a big cheer from the team down below. The Greystone GT driver hops up onto the 2nd step of the podium. It was, though, a first ever win in GT4 Winter Series for a Toyota. It was Speedy Motorsport who claimed the win, courtesy of Lucas Cartel. And he is very happy with that race win. Lucas heads out on to the podium, and he will climb to the top step as he celebrates the race victory. So podium trophies, are handed out, with Luigi Premuda from Pirelli handing out the winner's trophy. And celebrations will begin then here after an entertaining first day of racing at Portimão. The GT4 Winter Series and the GT Winter Series, of course, both in action again tomorrow with a pair of races apiece. And one of those races, of course, will include the mandatory pit stops, and for the 2 driver entries, driver changes as well. That always adds an extra level of strategy into the racing. And you'll want to make sure that you tune in tomorrow to enjoy another day of action here from Portimão. We're expecting slightly nicer conditions tomorrow as well. That rain that swept through this morning hopefully won't be too much of a factor tomorrow. And I'm sure that will be a relief to the drivers, who will be looking forward to getting plenty of dry running in on day 2 of this GT Winter Series season opener. So lots to reflect on at the end of this first day of competition. And as drivers now start to begin their celebrations, the teams, of course, have to start their preparations for tomorrow. For some teams, there are repair works to be done. For others, perhaps a few setup tweaks to be made to make their drivers as happy and comfortable as possible before the 2 races tomorrow. And it's going to be interesting to see whether the form continues into tomorrow or whether we maybe get a new set of winners on day 2. Right then, Izzy Browning is down in the pit lane now, ready to give us her thoughts on the end of an entertaining first day.
Well, there you have it. Day 1 done and dusted in the 2026 Winter Series, and it did not disappoint. There was drama, there were battles all the way up and down the field, and as we could expect, lots of great racing. And the best part is that the action continues tomorrow. Plenty more racing coming up in both the GT Winter Series and the GT4 Winter Series, so make sure you join us. We are live from 8:50 local time. We'll see you then.
We are racing in the Formula Winter Series for the 2nd weekend. 1 by 1.3 seconds. It does get a mighty run outside of the final corner.